the crimson envelope. At exactly 47 seconds into the live congressional hearing, Senator Marcus Williams peeled open a blood-red envelope like he was triggering a countdown. What he pulled out wasn't just evidence. It was a detonation. A DNA test with President Harrison Blake's name screaming off the page. The cameras froze mid-blink. Blake's trademark smirk slipped, and the air in the room turned frigid. What had Williams just revealed that made the most powerful man in America forget how to breathe on live television? The setup: this wasn't supposed to be the hearing. Officially, it was just another ethics committee session, a dry dive into campaign finance violations. But everyone in Washington who mattered knew this was war. War about secrets, about power, about what truth looks like when it's buried under the right connections and enough money. President Harrison Blake sat at the witness table like a king holding court. Navy blue suit, perfect posture, that worn-in smile that said, "I've already won." He'd walked into that marble chamber like he owned it, flanked by two attorneys with perfect hair and barely concealed panic behind their eyes. Senator Marcus Williams sat across from him, silent as stone. In his hands, a crimson envelope that seemed to pulse under the harsh committee room lights. For 20 years, Williams had been the quiet conscience of the Senate. Today, he was about to become something else entirely. The revelation. "Mr. President," Williams said, his voice cutting to the chamber's stillness, "can you explain to this committee what Meridian Holdings LLC is?" Blake didn't even blink. Never heard of it. But his lawyers had. One sat bolt upright. The other started frankly flipping through files. Williams continued, calm as thunder. This Delaware shell company wired $2.8 million to a woman named Isabella Cruz in March 2019. She worked housekeeping at your Mar Vista resort for 3 years. Fired 2 weeks after the transfer. The chamber rustled, a ripple of held breath. 3 months later, she was found dead. Apparent suicide, according to local police. No investigation. Case closed. Williams opened the envelope. The paper inside was crisp, official, stamped with the seal of the federal laboratory. But Isabella Cruz wasn't just an employee. Was she, Mr. President? The DNA test in my hand shows a 99.97% probability that you're the father of her daughter, Sophia Cruz. The room exploded. Reporters reached for phones. Cameras zoomed in. Blake, for the first time in his political career, had no words. The mother's story. Isabella Cruz had come to America with nothing but hope and a willingness to work 18-hour days. She cleaned rooms at Blake's luxury resort, invisible to the powerful men who stayed there, until one night in 2018, when she wasn't invisible anymore. When she discovered she was pregnant, Isabella kept working. She had to. But when Sophia was born and the father's identity became undeniable to anyone who looked at the child's distinctive features, everything changed. The first envelope arrived at her small apartment with no return address. Inside, a check for $100,000 and a single typed note. For the child's future. Stay quiet. Isabella tried to refuse it. She didn't want blood money. But when she attempted to return the check, 2 men in expensive suits appeared at her workplace. They didn't threaten her directly. They didn't need to. The message was clear. Take the money, sign the papers, disappear. So she did. She signed away her voice, took their hush money, and tried to build a life for Sophia in the shadows. But secrets that big don't stay buried, especially when they have a heartbeat and a birth certificate. The whistleblower, Dr. Rachel Morse, had been Blake's personal physician for over a decade. She'd seen him through campaigns, scandals, and health scares. She'd also processed a paternity test in 2019 that she was ordered to destroy. I received direct instructions from the president's legal team. Dr. Morse testified, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Destroy all records. Label the test as inconclusive. Forget it ever happened. Blake's attorney jumped up. This is hearsay. Inadmissible. But Williams wasn't in a courtroom. This was the court of public opinion, broadcast live to 200 million Americans. But you didn't destroy it, did you, Dr. Morse? No. I filed it under whistleblower protection protocols. Because that little girl deserved to know who her father was, even if he didn't want to know her. The breaking point. As Dr. Morse's testimony continued, Blake's composure finally cracked. His face went pale, his hands started shaking, and for a moment, the most powerful man in the world looked exactly like what he was, a man who'd been caught. "This is a witch hunt," he shouted, jumping to his feet. "Political theater designed to..." "Designed to what?" Williams interrupted, his voice rising for the first time. "To hold you accountable? To give a voice to a woman who died in silence? To acknowledge a child who exists whether you want her to or not? And independent audits for charities. No one," she declared, "not even celebrities, gets to stand outside the boundaries of financial ethics." A bipartisan agreement sparked. She made it impossible to keep our eyes closed. Weeks later, Ellen DeGeneres reappeared in a raw live stream from her home. Stripped of pretense, she simply said, "I'm sorry. I got lost in my own image, and I let arrogance blind me to what was right." She didn't name Jasmine, but everyone knew. Hours later, Jasmine posted one sentence. "Forgiveness is a first step, but justice must walk all the way." 9 words that resonated louder than any speech. Jasmine wasn't interested in humiliation. She was there to remind the world that legacies without accountability are built on sand. She didn't burn the stage. She made it impossible to pretend it was still lit. She forced a nation to ask, what else had we let slide, simply because it looked good on camera? Williams stood, holding up a photograph. On the screen behind him appeared the image of a 4-year-old girl with unmistakable features. Blake's eyes, his distinctive jawline. Sophia Cruz is 5 years old now. She lives with her aunt in Phoenix, Arizona. She doesn't know who her father is. She doesn't know why her mother is gone. But she exists, Mr. President, and your DNA doesn't lie. The daughter. The chamber side door opened and the room fell silent. A woman in her 30s walked in, Isabella's sister, Maria Cruz. She carried with her a manila folder and 25 years of suppressed anger. "My sister died because she was afraid." Maria testified, her accent thick with emotion. Afraid of what would happen if she spoke. Afraid of what would happen to Sophia. "She left me this." Maria opened the folder and pulled out a handwritten letter. Isabella's final words, written the night before her death. "If something happens to me, the truth is in the safe deposit box. Box 847, First National Bank, Phoenix. Sophia deserves to know her father, even if he's ashamed of her." The safe deposit box contained everything. Copies of the DNA test, wire transfer records, photographs of Blake visiting the resort, and most damning of all, a recording Isabella had made of a phone call with Blake's fixer, confirming the payment and the cover-up. The aftermath. The hearing lasted 14 hours. By the end, Blake's presidency was effectively over. The evidence was too overwhelming, the testimony too credible, the moral weight too heavy for even his most loyal supporters to bear. 3 days later, facing certain impeachment, President Harrison Blake resigned. In his resignation letter, he finally acknowledged Sophia Cruz as his daughter and established a trust fund for her education. Too little, too late, but something. Senator Marcus Williams stood on the Capitol steps that evening, the crimson envelope now empty but no longer needed. The truth had found its voice, and it had roared loud enough to topple an empire built on lies. The legacy. Sophia Cruz is 7 years old now. She lives with her Aunt Maria, goes to a good school, and dreams of becoming a doctor like the nice lady who testified on TV. She doesn't fully understand what happened, but she knows one thing. Her mother didn't die in vain. The crimson envelope sits in the National Archives now, a reminder that in America, sometimes, just sometimes, the truth still matters more than power. Sometimes justice isn't blind. It's just waiting for someone brave enough to open their eyes. And sometimes, all it takes is one envelope, one truth, and one person willing to speak for those who can no longer speak for themselves. The truth doesn't stay buried forever. It just waits for the right moment to rise.